Awesome, and welcome back to Webinar Wednesday, powered by Marketing 360. My name is Seth Burney, and I am joined here by none other than Brandon Lilly. Brandon, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Seth. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for asking. Well, for today's topic, we're going to be talking about paid ad strategies and how to grow your business with paid ads. And if you are seeing this live, thank you very much. We do have this presentation on this next slide, as you can see, that you can follow along with us. So if you want to jump over to m360.us/A14F, go right there. You're going to have this entire presentation to follow along either while we're live in action, or you can follow us later on if you're watching this video in post time. So thank you very much for being with us today. And Brandon, we're going to jump right into this thing. And, if you're following at home and you've never seen a Marketing 360 webinar, really what we want to give you is just some ideas, good tips, tricks, and strategies to help you improve your digital marketing. And as I said, we're talking about pay-per-click advertisements today. So in this webinar, we really want to help you get more conversions, as well as find ways to increase that impression share as we go along. And there are about 5 different platforms and programs that we're going to talk about today. Now, that doesn't mean they're the only 5 you need to focus on, but we believe these are 5 important strategies and platforms you need to look at. So Brandon, today we're going to be talking about Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Google retargeting, and Pinterest. So while we kind of move into the first slide about identifying and seeing what platforms, right, we want to get into, you really need to ask yourself some questions, right, Brandon? I know from a marketing executive perspective, you go through this with new clients generally on a daily basis, talking about, hey, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish with this? And on this first slide, we have a couple great questions that you really just need to ask yourself, right? Am I trying to get more leads out of this paid ad strategy? Am I trying to get some brand awareness? Is there an event that's coming up that I'm trying to get people signed up for, right? So what are some other questions, Brandon, that you might be able to ask yourself as a small business owner before getting in to creating a pay-per-click strategy?
Well, Seth, even before I answer that, I think something that everybody should consider is that really any question you ask yourself to an extent is important. It's all related to your business. It's all related to your growth. So ask yourself as many questions as possible, but I think the point should be narrowing everything that you're detailing and learning and questioning yourself on, narrowing that into what is your top priority. I heard a great saying a couple of years ago, and it said, if you have multiple top priorities, you have 0 top priorities. So ask yourself these questions specifically to identify what your number 1 priority will be. Now, that's not to say that you won't have, sub priorities. You essentially kind of create this pyramid, a step program of where you're trying to get, and the mini milestones or mini goals that will get you to that top priority, that number 1 priority. So ask yourself those questions. If we're saying that, well, I want to get more leads. Okay, so that's the number 1. Well, maybe it's not. Why do you want more leads? Well, I need more leads because I don't have enough to keep my salespeople busy. Okay, now we have another question to ask. So why aren't your salespeople busy? Is it because the leads they have are not highly qualified? So if the phone call is 5 minutes, are they not very busy because there's just not enough volume? Are they not very busy because you have too many? There's these other questions that you kind of have to ask yourself. So maybe you walk yourself down this road and you need more leads so that you can fully staff out your sales guys so that they can be fully focused and attentive towards the leads that have been delivered to them. And as a result of that, your revenue increases. Now, obviously, as a business, really everything you do is all about increasing revenue, right? Mm-hmm. So I like to take it a step further. What will you do with the increased revenue? Now, you've worked yourself up to this, but maybe this isn't even the top priority. Maybe your top priority is, if I increase revenue, I can do X, I can do Y. And walk yourself through this path. Ask yourself as many possible questions. And when you finally get to a point where you can no longer ask why, that's your top priority. Then you can go back down this path and you can write the whole thing out. And that will give you your micro goals and your micro milestones that get you to your number 1 priority. Then you can reverse engineer everything you've just done, and you can focus in on what are the steps I need to take? What's the campaign I need to build? What's the budget I need to have? What's the strategy I need to employ? What platforms do I need to be on? You can reverse engineer all of that, extrapolate the data that you need, and then you can take your first step.
Absolutely. Great information there. So for everyone at home, really identifying that, right? Identify what is ultimately that main top priority that we want to accomplish here. And then once you kind of identify that, that's when we're going to start asking ourselves as we move along to the next slide, right? Is how do we identify the people who are actively searching for my services through the keyword types that they might be searching, right? So again, we've identified our goals. We know exactly what we want to try and accomplish from this pay-per-click strategy. And now what we want to do is take advantage of a couple platforms. You know, on this slide, we have Google and YouTube, right? Two of the largest search engines. And the reason we've kind of talked about these two platforms is you can reverse engineer, as Raina was just saying, how are people finding me, or what would I search to find my product or service, right? So I think utilizing these two analytics, figure out what are the top search keywords and how are people finding me, and then we can kind of walk into the next step. But Brandon, I'd love to get your insights also on how to also identify other types of keywords that people might find you with.
To clarify real quick, one of the most important things you can do, as you mentioned earlier, is to identify what would I do if I were searching. You know, that is a great way to give you your first step. But keep in mind, you might not search the same way that everybody else does. And so I've seen people get into a trap like this, and they go, no one searches like that. Well, I guarantee you that, yes, some people do. Now, it's going to depend on your product and your service and where you're located and things like that. But to an extent, there's always some sort of testing and optimizing that needs to happen. Mm-hmm. Just because you do something one way doesn't mean that your customers will. And that's a really great way to strangle yourself out of business, is by not understanding how your customers are searching. And I think we've got a couple of things to talk about on that later, some statistics on new search terms and search trends. But when we're talking about identifying keywords specifically, you can do the same thing that we just talked about, you know, kind of creating that pyramid of what are we like to call, Marketing 360, we like to call them golden keywords. What's your best keywords? Where if someone searches for this, the likelihood of them being a buyer or a decision maker is much, much higher than where they might be somewhere else, right? Mm-hmm. When you're identifying these keywords, let's use landscaping as an example. You know, somebody who is searching for landscaping service might just be top of funnel, right? They're at the very top, they're research mode. They're not ready to buy yet, and they're going to compare you. And we talked about this on a webinar a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, people compare 3 to 5 different businesses before they make a purchasing decision. So that's still a good keyword. And if you've built a great paid search strategy, add in retargeting, different things like that, email nurturing campaigns, that can still be a great keyword. But maybe the golden keyword is down a little bit further. That's down closer into the buying decision. So you have to identify what's someone's path to deciding to work with me. So landscape service, best landscape company. Now they found you. So, A1 best, or how about we put it this way, A1 landscaping reviews. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to look for you. They want to see what other people have had, what their experience is. Now, if they're going that far, they're probably a lot closer to being a buyer. They're probably a lot closer to being a lead, and they're still working their way down that funnel until you find what the real golden keywords are. And it might be service-based, might be location-based, it could be cost-based, things like that. That's not to say that the other keywords aren't necessary. They really are, because you have to walk somebody through this sales funnel, as it were. Mm-hmm. So identify your keywords in different segments: research, comparing, buying. And if you can block them into those 3 different sections, you can identify, this keyword's getting clicks. I don't think it's driving me conversions. And you can think about it critically and go, well, maybe this keyword is a research keyword, not a buying keyword. Mm-hmm. And realize where it has to go so that your strategy itself is feeding people through your sales funnel. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. And that's some great information there, talking about the keywords and kind of, as you're saying, taking those and making different levels. Now,
that kind of leads us right into our next slide, right? What we're talking about here in our third example is how to align your platforms with the campaigns. And you could even take it a step further to say adding in the keywords for each specific campaign and platform that you're going to be putting out there for your business. As you talked about reviews, right? I think that is a paid ad strategy that a lot of small businesses overlook, right? They think, well, someone is going to search my name and they're going to search reviews. Well, wouldn't you rather them see what you want them to see, right? The platforms in which you want to direct them to, and even potentially your own website that has your own customer reviews and some great images of your customers right there on your site, versus them going to a Yelp or, another review platform. So I think that's a great strategy. But on this slide, we're talking about once you have your goals and you have those keywords, now let's try and refine it and create specific campaigns for each platform that we're going to go into. And give you an example here, right? So we're just going to talk about a local seafood restaurant. So we just kind of created this example, right? So if you're going to create a pay-per-click strategy, you can look at Google. And on Google alone, you could look at the keyword set, best seafood restaurant near me, right? Now, there are multiple levels that we could go on and on about Google and Google Maps and coming up in the Google Maps section and paying for that, as well as the near me talking about mobile. But I think that it's important that you need to create strategies and use keywords specifically for the type of people that are going to be searching on specific platforms, right? Another idea would be doing a Facebook targeting ad and targeting demographics of people who like other seafood restaurants, right? They already are interested in seafood restaurants. They show a passion for it. So maybe that's the type of demographic you're going to want to show either your videos or your images to within Facebook. And then last example here is talking about YouTube, right? Leveraging the power of the third largest search engine right now and just looking at simple shrimp recipes, right? So it's a keyword that knows someone isn't going to specifically be looking for your restaurant. However, think of it this way. If they go to YouTube and they're looking for a simple shrimp recipe, and lo and behold, they click on your video and you show them how to create it with your branding and some great video, great voiceovers, and you've given them a great product and they love it, there's a good chance they're going to want to compare your recipe to their own, right? So now you've given them value, you've given them something that they were looking for, and you've shown your brand to them, and lo and behold, you targeted them in your specific demographic, right? So only people in your location.
Too, specifically as it relates to YouTube, and I love that you use that example, because what restaurant would go, why would I give away my recipe?
Exactly.
Right? Why would you do that? Your whole goal is to bring people in so they buy from you. Well, guess what? You just gave away something for free, but nothing is really truly free in this world, and everybody knows it. Everyone knows that this is a truth. So they go, they watch your recipe, they may try it. Awesome, free recipe, it was great. Guess what? You can create a retargeting campaign based off of views on your video. Mm-hmm. Now they're starting to see your ads, and guess what you did? This particular ad is based off of simple shrimp recipes that you offer, shrimp dishes in your restaurant, $5 off your next purchase of $25 or more. Get a free drink when you come in and show this coupon, things like that.
Yep.
Guess what? They saw your video, they loved your recipe, and now you're giving them a coupon to come in?
Absolutely.
Great value, incredible value. And all it took was you creating just a little bit of content that had awesome value and giving it away for free. By doing that, you've just earned yourself a customer that never would have been a customer otherwise. Incredibly valuable.
Yep. And what we're trying to hope that a lot of small business owners think about pay-per-click advertisements is it's not just you trying to put money into getting somebody in, right? Think about it as, again, as Brandon said, how do you show value to these clients? How do you give them something that really didn't cost a lot, but is going to yield better returns in the future, right? So think about some of these strategies and keep it specific, right? Doing a recipe and putting on simple shrimp recipe on a Google search probably isn't going to yield you very good returns if they're searching for a seafood restaurant near me. right? So again, think about the context of how the person is searching and how they're going to see those advertisements. Brandon, did you have anything to add along the lines of kind of that example that we were describing?
Yeah, along with this, you want to look at it and go, what would I want to see if I was searching for this as a consumer? If you are Googling best seafood restaurant near me and you click on the ad that comes up and it takes you to a shrimp recipe, probably not what you were looking for, right? There's intent, and Google really is an intent-based platform. I intend to find something, so I search for it and I find it. And people are very used to that. Google has created this culture of I think, I look, I find. So you need to ensure that there is a modicum of, just consistency and continuity between the searches, the intent of the search, and what you're providing. And this goes with the platforms too. So to kind of bring this back to aligning the platforms with the campaigns, you want to ensure that what you're providing is platform specific also. So we can use so many different examples of this, but let's say Twitter. If you're advertising on Twitter or using Twitter for something, you want to make sure that your message, one, is short and concise, and two, resonates with what the user is looking for. Now, some industries aren't going to do very well on Twitter, and that's okay. Some industries don't do well on Google. They kill it on Facebook. That's okay. So you have to align your platforms with what you're looking for as the end result of your campaign. And we can have conversations about this all day long because there's so many different strategies that you can use, and I love it. So if you do have questions, feel free to reach out. We're taking questions live. We also take questions afterwards. We monitor all this. So if you've got a question, hit us up. We'll be sure to answer it for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. And that kind of takes us along to our next slide here. And we're talking about what we were talking at the top is kind of the emergence of the local search, right? And why is that mattering? Consumers now, they're looking for local services more than they ever have, and they're doing it on their mobile devices, right? So when you look at specifically for the near me search, that has grown 34 times from a Google search perspective over last year. So nearly 1 in 3 of all mobile users are related to a location-based search. So keep that in mind, right? So if you're going to employ a Google advertising strategy or a pay-per-click strategy, make sure you're adding in things like near me, close by, right? If you're doing a local search and just think, hey, I'm on vacation, what am I going to search to find a restaurant or a local service that I'm looking for, or even a local retail shop? Think about it from that consumer point of view, right? So it's extremely important that you're there on mobile devices when people are searching on their mobile devices. Brandon, anything to add to that?
Absolutely. I love these local search trends. They fascinate me. I can use myself as an example. A couple of years ago, my car broke down, side of the road. I needed a wrecker or a tow truck to come pick me up. I didn't really know where I was. It was a long stretch of highway. I wasn't super familiar with it. So I can't search in, a location where I don't know where I am. Yeah. So I searched for tow truck near me, clicked on the very first ad that I saw because I don't have time to wait on the side of the road. It was a call-only ad, which is fantastic on a mobile device. It immediately called them. They pick up, hello, Joe's Wreckers, and they came out, picked me up, no problem. Google knew exactly where I was, even though I didn't know where I fell in between these towns that I was driving through. It was fantastic. Google has even noticed that they have seen a dip in searches that are related to specific locations. So if you're looking for best seafood restaurant in Denver, Colorado versus best seafood restaurant near me, generally speaking, Google people just kind of know that they've become accustomed to the fact that Google already knows where you are.
Yep.
So there's been a dip in those state or city or location specific, but more of that personal, more of a personal search. Something near me, something I want to do, something me. And those are where those searches kind of steer towards. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. If you're a vacation, Airbnb style renting hotel, something like that, that's a little different. People aren't going to be searching near me because it's a destination. So that does require local search. But if you are a local business that relies on your local community, you don't necessarily have to put restaurant in Denver. Your search terms can be restaurant near me. And then you just segment your list down so that you only show in Denver. You only show in a specific state or an area like that. So it matters a lot. It can even matter for an e-commerce business. Yeah. And this is a little different because most people don't really anticipate this. E-commerce, no one really searches that way. Well, it could be of great value. And this is where you want to optimize and kind of see if you are seeing the value here. If I have an electronic device go out, I've got some choices, right? I can go to Amazon, wait a couple of days. I can go to, say, a big box store, maybe pay a little bit more, or, and a lot of people will do this, is they will search for another location to get it at if they want it, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So you can run your own ads related to locations and states and things like that, and mention the fact that you offer free overnight shipping.
Mm-hmm.
Great value. Well, now I don't have to go to the big box store. I don't have to wait 2-3 days for Amazon. I'm not traveling around or driving around trying to find a place to get it because this e-commerce website offers free overnight shipping. Yep. Problem solved. So that could be another great value for you. This local search, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There is definitely a way to find some value there. So keep that in mind in your search strategies.
Yeah. And I think it's great that you said value, I think 6 or 7 times there in the end, but it's because you need to show that you are giving the consumer something of value, right? They're going to get something when they see this advertisement. You're buying time. Literally, they're going to skim over it. And if you're not showing them something they want to see, they're going to move on. So I think that's great. Talking about moving on, we're going to go over to this next slide. And we're going to talk about a paid strategy that a lot of people don't know about. This is actually on the pay per lead side, not so much the pay per click side. But Google local service ads is something that is in every major city now and is continually rolling out as we continue along in different verticals, right? So right now, locksmith, electricians, plumbers, those are, I believe right now, Brandon, you could correct me if I'm wrong, in the major cities, and you can actually employ this strategy today, right? Now, the reasons that this is great for a local small business is it gives the consumer an answer to their question right away, and it also shows that it's Google guaranteed. Right? So the consumer is going to feel the value of Google showing, hey, if I call this person, which I'm looking for a local service, let's just say I'm looking for a local plumber today. I have a problem. I need it fixed, right? I have a pain point. I do a search. I see the top one has a 4.5 star rating and a click to call button right then and there. I click the button, I calls directly to the plumber, and at that point, when Google verifies that you made the connection with the client and a schedule was made, you are paying for that lead, right? But it gives you an opportunity to show Google guarantee, show reviews, and show locale specific to your area. So I think this is something that a lot of small business owners need to dive into. We are talking about it very briefly here. I'm sure Brandon has a lot to add, but we did do a local service ad with Google webinar. So check out our other webinars, go and watch that in more detail if you really want to dive in. But Brandon, I'd love to get your perspective on this new service.
Kind of even just from a high level, this is something that you cannot afford to skip out on. Just the opportunity to have direct leads of interested buyers funneled directly to you, not shared. There's other services out there that share leads across other businesses. This isn't shared. It comes to you. And then you're charged based on being able to communicate with that person. It's incredible. Now, there are some limitations, though, right? There's some city limitations, location limitations, some vertical limitations. And one thing that I actually really like and that people that are in this program are finding to be really valuable to them is that not just everybody can be in the local service ads. You have to get a background check. Mm-hmm. Google has to actually ensure that you are a legitimate and valuable business, that you bring value to the searches and value to the consumer. And I'm saying value over and over again because it's really here, right? And you find this across all different platforms. Everybody is going towards this value add platform. We saw it with Google with SEO a couple of years ago. You need to add value. to a consumer's search experience. We're seeing this a lot on Instagram and Facebook right now, where comments, likes, shares, things like that. That's useful, but really what it is are you adding value? Are you adding a useful experience to the tool essentially that somebody's using? If they're scrolling through Instagram and you're adding something to their experience, you rank more highly. Yep. If you can be a business that can add something to a service that Google is providing, search results, namely, by going through this background check and by becoming a certified business and letting Google tinker around with who you are as a business, and then they decide, yep, we can put our stamp of approval on you. Here you go. You're adding value to a user's search, their history and everything that they're looking for, their own path to finding what they want. Yeah. So this is not something to skip out on. Limitations aside, Google's already done the testing, and we did a webinar talking with them about this. They know that this is something they're going to keep rolling out. I think they're in 30 metro areas by the end of 2017, the end of that year, and they've just been expanding rapidly. So if you have questions or you want to know, does my industry count in my city? What's it look like? What are my costs per lead? Give us a call and we can get those answers for you. Feel free to send us a chat or leave a comment here, and we can get that for you too. Absolutely. We could dive into this forever, but that's kind of a brief overview. There's some limitations, but you can't afford to miss it.
Yeah, agreed. And on this next slide that we're going to be looking at, right, still talking about it, but it kind of shows you the differences of how people are searching and how it's actually shown. So from a desktop perspective, right, it's going to show both if you are a paid or an unpaid provider. And it's also going to show the ones that are paid providers have that Google Guarantee badge, right? So that's going to be important. But on mobile, I think it's even more important because that's where the near me searches are happening, right? So there's more value. There's actually a profile page. It has reviews. It has your star rating. It has a map. So it really helps kind of qualify that client, that potential lead before they call you or before it submits into become a lead for you. So I think that's awesome. But the last thing I want to touch on that I thought was really interesting in our Google conversation is the assistant part, right? So we're talking, if you're talking in your mobile device or you actually have that Google Assistant sitting on your desk and you ask for a plumber near me, the Google Assistant is first going to search through who is in this program. Right? So if you are in the local listing ad service program, you've gone through and been verified, they are going to show you your location first. So it'll say, I have 2 results for your local location, X, Y, and Z. Right? Would you like to hear them? So I think that is huge. Even if, and this is something that I really think is awesome, even if Google hasn't developed it out in your market yet, as long as you've gone through and become qualified, right? And you're waiting for them to open in your market, you will still come up on Google Assistant. And I think a lot of people don't know that. So go today, start the qualification process. It's going to be huge. They're going to be rolling out in your vertical, in your market industry, and they're going to be coming to your town soon. So jump on that. Brandon, anything to add before we jump over to the next slide?
Yeah, I'm just going to add a prediction here. And I would say that voice search is going to overtake desktop search in the next 2 years. I firmly believe that this voice search, Google is buying into it. Amazon is buying into it with the Amazon Echo. You've got Apple getting on board with this. Everything is moving towards this cloud-based voice search. We've already seen mobile take over desktop, and now buying on mobile has overtaken desktop, and it's been that way for a few years. I would say that within the next 2 to 3 years, voice is going to overtake desktop search. And specifically for reasons like this, it's just way easier, and it's going to start to become simple. It's just going to be easy. Why would I go and search and have to do my own research when I can trust that Google's already done the research for me, and all I have to do is ask?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, just one more topic on that. The reason I know you're right is because that's how my 4-year-old searches. He literally says, Dad, ask Google. Dad, ask Siri. They just know the answers, right? You don't want to actually go and type it in, just ask. So I'm right there with you. So let's jump over to the next slide. And I want to talk about Pinterest, right? So I think Pinterest is a very interesting strategy for a lot of small business owners. that they haven't fully jumped into it, really because they don't understand the value. So right now, it's a platform that millennials are using every single day. So I think on this statistic right here, 50% of US millennials use Pinterest every single month. And of that, 63% say Pinterest helps them discover new brands or products to buy, right? So this is really a platform that people are, maybe they know or have an idea that they're looking for something and they'll do a keyword search, but they're really looking for the Pinterest community to show them what they want, right? Show me the value. In Pinterest, I was on a webinar actually today listening to them, and they've made the paid pins look just like an organic pin, right? So most consumers don't even know if you're showing them a promotion or not. So I think that that's huge, as well as a couple other things is their targeting is getting better and better by the day, right? They understand that Facebook's targeting is on point. Google, of course, they know. YouTube, same. Pinterest understands that we need to get our advertising platform under wraps and give small business owners the ability to target who they want to target when they want to target them. So things like interests, keywords, occasions, right? All of that is something that you can do on Pinterest, as well as the retargeting that we were, Brandon was talking about there earlier. You can create an act-alike audience, which is kind of similar to the look-alike audience for Facebook. But then you can also import customer lists. So you can actually pull email, you can upload their emails, and even find mobile IDs from past clients to target. So a little bit scary there, but it's just showing you as a small business owner, you can target in and dial in. And I want to take it one step before I let Brandon jump in. Sorry, guys. But Pinterest is very exciting because people are finding new activities, and it goes back to the value, right? Let's think about YouTube and the video that I said, the simple shrimp recipe. Pinterest does it every day, all day long. My wife, every single meal we get, she makes from a Pinterest recipe she saw, right? And I couldn't tell you how many times she's like, you know what? I want to compare my meal to the restaurant quality, right? So again, let's start talking location-based, give them value, and, really just get your brand out there in front of them and give the consumers what they're looking for. Right, Brandon?
Absolutely. And don't confuse the fact that Pinterest, in its kind of inception, skewed a little bit more towards female users. Don't get confused there. That is still a very heavy user base for them, but you're finding more and more men are on the platform as well. Mm-hmm. I personally use the platform for projects around the house that I want to get done.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not the most creative individual in the world, so I'm not going to waste a ton of brain power trying to be. I can go to Pinterest and get some great landscaping ideas. I can get some great, upgrade or upkeep ideas for the house just by going there. I don't need to waste the time on it. Even more so, Pinterest is a great. It's all display, right? Very image heavy, very image friendly. But the information, it's essentially just an aggregate. It aggregates all of these different categories and pins and everything like that. You click on it, you get a little bit of information, a little taste, and then it directs you to where everything is. Then it directs you towards the website or a YouTube video or something that provides more details and more value, and then that can become your resource. If you find one pin or one project, a project board, even a company that's providing the information that you need, well, guess what? Next time I have a question answered that's related in that same category, I might not even have to go through Pinterest again. I might still, because I'm that person and I want to, check all the different boxes. But now you can go back to that company. You've earned a customer simply by providing them some details and data that they needed. So this can be an incredible value. And I think we're probably going to end up doing more webinars on Pinterest as they continue to increase their opportunity for advertising and just better their consumer targeting. So I would definitely expect to see more and more of this happening.
I'm looking forward to it.
Before we continue, I think we had a question about the Google service ads. So Seth, our question is, does Google still send those leads to multiple businesses, or do they only send the leads to one business at a time? Is that, if I remember correctly, there's a time limit for communication, right, before they send that information off to a different business? The consumer obviously doesn't want to wait.
Correct. Yeah. So, the way that Google identified it with us on our webinar was when they do a click to call, they're calling specifically to one business, right? That call, if it's a click to call, will only go to one business. They don't reroute that call to a secondary business if they didn't pick up, right? You leave a voicemail. There's a time limit on the callback, right? But that's it. Google doesn't resell that information. On the lead forms, I also believe that to be true, that it's one for one. If you send the email, it goes to the lead form. Google has an actual inbox that you have to log into, and you actually reply from there. If you don't reply to the lead, I do believe Google will send it to a secondary inbox or a secondary business in the local location, because again, Google's verified, hey, we're going to get you a business to solve your problem. So if it's a click to call, it's one-to-one. If it's a lead form and you respond in the amount of time, it's one-to-one. But they do not, if you've made contact with the lead, they do not resell that information.
There we go.
Yep.
Question asked and answered.
Perfect. And then on, a couple more things I want to talk about Pinterest, right? 75% of millennial pinners say they like it when brands inspire them to reach their potential, right? That can be as simple as a motivational quote, or just saying or posting something as simple as, hey, do it yourself, right? Here's a do it yourself step-by-step process. So they really like that, as well as food, decor, and style. Those are all categories that consumers are spending more, and this is Pinterest saying this, they're spending more because of what they found on Pinterest. And then an interesting topic here, talking about the DIY, you said, you're a handyman yourself. I am that same way at home, and my wife has projects that she wants me to do, and I have my own projects. But I never don't accomplish the projects, right? I either do it on my own, or if I can't figure it out, I'm going to go to the person that pinned it, and I'm going to have them do it for me. Right? So I'm going to get it accomplished one way or another. My wife doesn't need to know how it always gets accomplished, but it gets accomplished, right? So Jumping over to that next one, we're going to talk about retargeting. We've already mentioned it, but I think it's going to be important. You talked about it, Brandon. People, when they're looking for a product or a service, generally 97% of the time, they're not going to do business with you the first time, and they're going to search out 3 to 5 other companies or products to look into, right? So being able to show your brand message, maybe even give them a different brand message as they go further down that buying cycle. Retargeting is huge, right? Every time they see your brand, it builds a little bit of trust. You're renting real estate in their mind. So if they ever have a problem or a concern in the future, your brand hopefully is going to be top of mind for them. So I know, Brandon, you have a lot of interesting things to talk about retargeting as well.
I love retargeting. It's just, there's so much that you can do with it. It's not just about following somebody or tracking them around the internet or anything like that. That's not what it's for. The amount of targeting that you can do based on action or activity or anything like that is just incredible. You can have specific retargeting ads or retargeting campaigns based on specific pages on your site that a user has visited. Mm-hmm. So maybe someone who has seen or been to your pricing page gets a different kind of ad than someone who just went to your homepage. Somebody who goes to specific service pages, they see a retargeting ad that's specific to the service that they looked at versus just kind of a generic ad. If you're e-commerce, you can do dynamic product retargeting. So the ads that they see specifically contain products that they looked at. You can just get so ingrained and detailed into what a user is doing or has done. And again, this doesn't need to be creepy. Some people will be creeped out by the amount that the internet knows, but it doesn't have to be.
Yep. Because
why? My favorite word, value. If you're creating great value, then I don't care. I don't care that you are retargeting me. I don't care that, I'm starting to see things that are relevant to what I searched for, providing value for me, delivering great information, and delivering a great customer experience. Why would that hurt my feelings? Yeah. It's not going to make me angry. You've just done the hard work for me. So retargeting is not easy because well, we'll put it this way. It's really easy to do at a basic level. At just the most mundane base level, super easy to do. It becomes more complex the more complicated you make it. But that's where, that's where the gold is, right? There's gold in them hills, and you got to grab the pickaxe and go running. That's retargeting. And the deeper you dig and the more that you do, the more audiences you set up, the more integrated and ingrained in the user's experience, the better your results are. And so just diving into that and testing things, trying things. We did a webinar on retargeting a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the value. The cost for retargeting, a cost per click for retargeting is just incredibly low versus that first cost per click. If you're in an industry that's really expensive, if you're a lawyer or medical or insurance even, those clicks can get up to $100 or more. So if you've got retargeting built into that, for industries that can allow this, that click is $1, $2, $4, something like that. So there's a lot of opportunity here that people miss because they just initially set up retargeting, or worse, they don't set it up at all, and then wonder why they're just not getting the leads or the sales that they should. You already covered it. 97% of people generally do not make a purchasing decision the first time they interact with your brand. This is a no-brainer. If you take nothing else away from this, you need to set up a retargeting campaign.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you very much for that information, Brandon. And before we jump over to the last slide, we actually have another question, a quick shout out for Omar 10i. Thank you very much for joining us here. But we do have another question. The question is, how does Google track the customer follow-up timeframe by the business? And is it tracked through built-in tracking systems, etc.? And then also, do you know if Google Lead Service is now available in Ohio? So you kind of answered your own question. Absolutely, yes, they do have your own portal. So when you go through and you become a verified business through Google, you do have your own login portal. That is where all the lead information is going to go through, and where Google is tracking your follow-up with the leads and making sure you're doing it on a timely basis. So yes, is it in Ohio yet? I do not know 100% sure. What I will say is, if you want to jump over to marketing360.com, fill out a lead form real quick, just in the comments, put was on the webinar, want to know if Google Local Service Ads is in my area. We're more than happy to do a quick search and figure that out for you. Again, going back to it, if they're not already available where you're located, they will soon be available where you're located. So I would say it's better to just go through to get verified, make sure you're taking the steps, because it is going to take a little bit of time. Again, a background check, and they want to look at your reviews and do a lot of other stuff for you. But start that process now. Jump over to marketing360.com, fill out a lead form, and we're more than happy to help. So thanks again, Omar 10i.
And Seth, to clarify, yes, there are local service ads available in Ohio. That does exist.
Thank you very much, Brandon.
There may be some vertical restrictions, so I agree with you. Fill out a quick lead form. We will look into your vertical and your specific location within Ohio just to make sure. But yes, it is available in Ohio. We just need to identify the restrictions, and we'll get you taken care of.
Perfect. Love it. And let's jump over to this last slide here. So kind of the final, and what we always like to talk about in Marketing 360, right? You need to always analyze and optimize, especially if you're running a pay-per-click campaign, which we've been talking about this entire webinar. You need to make sure that you are targeting specific people through specific campaigns and platforms and tracking it, right? On the right-hand side of this, you'll see a bunch of different colors, and each line actually represents a lead opportunity lead flow. Right? So this is actually how we converted a lead through advertisements within all of the marketing together. Marketing 360 is a company. We've designed a analytics system that ports in tons of different platforms. I think we're over 20 plus platforms right now, all the major ones, of course. But we can track, hey, did a lead see your pay-per-click advertisement? Did they leave? Again, 97% of the time they're going to leave. Did they do a organic search? Did they come back to organic? Did they leave again or convert at that point? Maybe they saw a retargeting ad and they came back, right? We show this entire lead flow process so that you can better optimize and say, am I truly getting the return on investment from the paid ad strategy that I'm implementing per campaign and platform type, right? You can't get any more minute as into how to track that total ROI from a client. So check out the marketing360.com website. Check out our system. Brandon, I know you like to talk about kind of making sure the multi-channel marketing is all connected. So I'd love to get your opinion on the analyzation and optimization of these ad campaigns.
I'm glad you put this in here because this is one of my favorite screenshots. I use it all the time as an example. This is a real example pulled directly out of the Marketing 360 platform. These are leads that converted through our own ad strategies and our own ad campaigns. So this is an actual live screenshot. Mm-hmm. But this kind of feeds back into what we were talking about originally, which is identify the different keywords and where they fit into that funnel. Is it a research keyword? Is it a nurturing keyword? Or is it a sales keyword, that a golden keyword for your conversions? Some of those you're not going to know. And I think this is a great example. You can see, for the first one on the line there, organic search, paid search, direct to our website 5 times, meaning they went to marketing360.com 5 more times before deciding to fill out a lead form. Now, the other one started off directly as a paid search for something, find it, click on the ad, came back directly, probably shortly there afterwards. Paid search 4 times, probably searching through different services or looking for competitors and then coming back and comparing. Found us organically, probably a blog post if I had to guess, and then came back through paid search 1 more time before converting and becoming a lead for us. So you can this helps identify the value of the keywords versus getting to the actual conversion. Mm-hmm. 1 click to 1 sale doesn't happen. Very rarely is that ever the case. That's just not how the world works anymore. And I've talked about it before. It's not generally people when they're making a decision like this, it's not yes or no, it's maybe later. Which is why retargeting feeds into that and identifying your different keywords versus what they bring to the table, or what the result of that keyword strategy is. It's not right now. It's not, it's not yes, it's not no, it's maybe later. And we can see that really effectively through how all of these different channels of marketing work together. We've been talking about paid strategy, but as you can see here, there's a lot more that goes into it. Just having a great AdWords campaign, just using YouTube, or even just trying to combine a couple of different platforms together, that's not how the world works anymore. You have to have a multi-channel marketing campaign across all different opportunities tied in together with a fantastic strategy and a great primary goal, a great goal to aim for that we've already defined. That's how you succeed in online business. So if you have questions about that, go to marketing360.com/start. You can build a marketing plan yourself for free. We walk you through it. Not going to ask for a credit card or anything. Just walk through there. Get some estimates, get some pricing, get some ideas of different services that you might need, different platforms you want to be on in order to be successful. If you choose to work with us at Marketing 360, we would be thrilled. If you choose to do it on your own, I hope that you find value in these webinars. We've got a bunch of others, and Seth and I are going to continue and keep doing these. So let us know what the next webinar should be. Seth and I are always looking for ideas. If you choose to work with us, great. If you want to do it on your own, I hope these help.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Brandon. I think that's great. As he said, we do these webinars every single Wednesday, 1:30 Mountain Standard Time, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. So please check us out on YouTube or Facebook. If you watch this video for this long, we thank you very much, and we're excited to see you next week. Also, what I will say is hit us up on LinkedIn as well. Brandon is always on LinkedIn. I have a LinkedIn page. I do some individual posting and also commenting and wanting to just help out small business owners. Brandon and I do this because it's what we love to do. We want to show you value. We want to show that there are other agencies out there that want to help you grow, whether you do become a client of ours, which we would love, or you want to do it on your own, right? We hope you get a little bit of value out of the information we're putting out there. So thank you again so much for following us. And until next week, have a great one.